And now, thanks to state funding, 21 of them have these lap shoulder belts. But not every district that applied got the funding. We found after searching for 3 months through thousands of records, some of them just didn't submit their applications correctly. The state never told them, so they never reapplied for the money, missing out on something that was meant to keep kids alive during an accident. 6 years have passed since Brad Brown sat in the hospital waiting for news about his daughter.
I waited for Ashley there, wanting to find her in whatever shape she was in. I next saw Ashley at the funeral home.
Hours before, a bus carrying a Beaumont High School girls soccer team skidded off a rainy highway and rolled over, killing Ashley and another girl, Alicia Benura.
My daughter left her seat, and she was killed on impact.
Steve Foreman's daughter, Allison, was one of those severely injured.
She was pinned under the bus. Her left arm was crushed.
Out of the tragedy, these parents began pushing a law to get lap shoulder belts on new school buses in Texas, something they say could have prevented their loss. But state budget cuts soon slashed the fund from $10 million to $2.5 million.
The program was established to fail. Why should we be surprised that it's failed?
12 school districts applied for the money, but the Texas Education Agency, which administers the fund, says some withdrew and some didn't submit complete paperwork. As a result, only 4 districts, including the Austin Independent School District, received money. In the end, around $2 million remained, swept into other programs TEA deemed priorities, like fine arts, early childhood, and English language proficiency.
I think that's criminal, and I think that's a misappropriation of taxpayer funds.
It's legal, but the author of Ashley and Alicia's bill is now demanding TEA reconsider the funding after finding out that at least 2 of the districts that didn't receive money eventually ended up buying buses without belts.
I would like to see those school districts retrofit those buses and then have the commissioner ensure that they will get reimbursed as soon as there's money in the fund.
If any one of those kids gets hurt, then I think it's the TEA's fault.
The numbers suggest seatbelts on school buses work. TEA itself says districts reported more than 2,300 accidents statewide last year alone. Students injured not wearing seatbelts, 435. Compared to those strapped in, far fewer with just 20. Foreman and Brown say one child at risk is one too many. Both plan to lobby the legislature next session to make sure no parent has to experience their pain.
No girl walked away from the accident unscarred. Ashley didn't come home that day.
TEA declined an on-camera interview, but told me the money it reallocated from the seatbelt program to other priorities was used to benefit students and schools in areas of identified need. But when it comes to needing seatbelts, it's something that some districts just can't afford on their own. A new school bus alone costs anywhere between $60,000 and $70,000. Add seatbelts to that mix, it's an extra $6,500. Just off Highway 16 in Gillespie County, a bridge over the Pedernales River has become the focus of a funding dispute.
My God, if something's not done, the bulldozers are going to come in here and bulldoze all this out.
No doubt the Bose Lane crossing needs work, and Philip Tates would know. This retired civil engineering professor lives just down the road.
If you look at the steel supporting beams in here, there is a slight amount of deflection.
The Texas Department of Transportation wants to spend an estimated $370,000 federal dollars to replace the bridge instead of simply repairing it. But it's something Tate says he can't justify.
I call it waste in the worst possible form.
On average, only 10 cars use it each day.
These people up here do not have to depend on this. This is a crossing of convenience.
True, there's another bridge about a mile down the road the state says is safe to use that gives cars access to the same highway. But Tate's isn't the only one who would save a few minutes drive time by keeping the Bose Lane crossing open. So would a man who approved this costly decision, County Commissioner Calvin Ronslaven.
And I figured the people would think that I had something to do with selecting that bridge. And I told Texas, I said, well, I'd rather if you put another bridge in instead of this particular bridge.
But it turns out the county didn't have the option of putting that money toward another bridge, maybe one with more traffic.
And he said, as far as we're concerned, it doesn't matter whether 2 people drive over it or whether 100 people drive over it.
There are almost 53,000 bridges in the state, and TxDOT inspects them every 2 years. Those with the lowest score get the money from the Federal Highway Bridge Program, highlighted in the aftermath of 2007's I-35 bridge collapse in Minneapolis that killed 13 people. To rank a bridge, TxDOT puts the most value on structural safety, then serviceability, how much life the bridge has left. But the smallest percentage is how critical the bridge is to public use, and that's where traffic count comes into play.
Many county roads have low traffic volumes, and those bridges being safe are important to the people that drive on those bridges.
Records show TxDOT gave Gillespie County a choice: replace the Bose Lane crossing with federal funds, repair it at their own expense, or close it altogether.
We'll find in most cases counties like keeping their bridges open because it serves some segment of their public.
There are 417 bridges in Texas with fewer than 100 cars a day slated for replacement. This one in Caldwell County with 90 cars a day will cost $414,000. Another in Bastrop County, 35 cars, $370,000. And one in Lee County, just 10 cars, $327,000. The total cost statewide, nearly $150 million, not turned away by anyone. Like Ron Slavin says, if Gillespie County didn't use money for this bridge, TxDOT would send it to the next one down the line, somewhere else in the state.
No telling where that'll be, but you say it won't be here in the county.
It's still taxpayers' money.
Tate says unless TxDOT reevaluates its system, the county should reconsider repairs or closure. It's a decision between safety for a few people or the start of savings in a tough economic time nationwide.
It's got to start somewhere, and this is about as low a level as you can get.
TxDOT will either repair or replace 1,052 bridges across the state over the next 5 years with funds from this federal program.
Still up in the air whether state tax dollars will be part of the Formula One funding. Controversy stalled that project late last year, but construction is back on track for a November 18th race day.
New tonight, KXAN In-Depth uncovering key points in the timeline involving Formula One World Championship Limited and the Texas State Controller's Office. KXAN political reporter Josh.Hinkle is here live with tonight's top story.
Well, all boils down to this letter right here. It's a letter to Formula One officials from Comptroller Susan Combs. The letter is dated May 10th, 2010, and certifies full funding from the state of Texas, wording which prompted a request for a state opinion questioning if the comptroller overstepped her authority. We spoke with her on Friday.
A letter of optimism and support is not a contractual obligation. I think that's really important.
Couldn't you have said extremely interested instead of certify?
No, because it's not a legal term.
Not a legal term, but here's what else the letter states. With the understanding that the first Formula One race will be held in Texas in 2012, full funding, that's $25 million, will be paid no later than July 31st, 2011. A firm date to indicate Texas was on board with this idea and had the money to get things started. An investment from the Major Events Trust Fund, attracting jobs and tax revenue, a win-win for Texas and Austin.
I'm not opposed to it happening. I'm opposed to breaking the law.
Now, concern from another state leader. Texas Land Commissioner Jerry Patterson is asking the Attorney General to investigate the way Combs handled that potential funding.
Did the comptroller have the authority to make the commitment that was made in the letter dated 10 May 2010?
We asked the lawmaker who wrote the bill that helped get Formula One on the list of events eligible for that money.
But there's a very specific process that requires a local government or a local organizing committee that has been approved by local government to first apply.
Senator Kirk Watson spelled out the statute. His interpretation, Combs can't guarantee the money until organizers or the city apply for it. But those applications didn't come for more than a year after she sent that letter.
I think some people were wrong in the way they were reading that statute. She obviously made a lot of comments that I disagreed with.
F1 eventually pushed the local race back to the end of 2012. By statute, that time frame meant organizers would have to reapply for the money. Money Combs previously said would be available to pay the sanction, the fee to even get on the F1 calendar.
Created a little bit of internal friction.
Squabbles between organizers and talk of another U.S. race led to more problems and fears of Austin's F1 endeavor failing.
Her motto is, don't spend it if you can't defend it.
Then, just over 2 months ago, Combs made a U-turn in her support. She pulled the possibility of state funding until she sees if the first race is a success.
I wish him well. I hope it works.
Soon, construction all but shut down, and F1 officials threatened to push the race back again, perhaps even cancel it, because organizers had not paid up. So far, they've been hesitant to blame Combs' action for their financial hiccup.
We're full speed ahead on construction, and the only date that matters relative to the milestones is November 18th.
Back on track.
A lot of things are going to start changing quickly.
They eventually found the funding to keep them going for now, but Patterson says the project almost ran off the road thanks to a false sense of hope Combs gave in that letter long ago. Her office is now asking the Attorney General to ignore Patterson's request for an investigation, saying her letter was again merely an effort to indicate broad support.
I feel confident I have complied with the law.
Combs says the state has given no money to Formula One and there is no application on file for any money right now.
The multi-million-dollar Grand Prix event is on track, just 4 months away now from race weekend on November the 18th. Our Josh.Steven.Hinkle joins us now with details on that legal controversy.
We know the track is under construction right now and it's expected to draw 300,000 people for the race in November. That's more than enough for the state to call it a mass gathering. You only need 2,500. Under Texas law, every mass gathering event must have a permit before organizers start promoting it because of health and safety reasons. But it didn't happen that way for F1, and now some say it's evidence the county's giving this big business special treatment.
Yeah, I know. I love you.
For 30 years, Kathy Olive has enjoyed the peace and quiet of her southeast Travis County ranch.
I'm old. You know, my goats and I, this is our home.
But it's all starting to disappear as her new neighbor across the street prepares for more than a few house guests.
I'm going to be here probably with a pillow over my head.
The International Grand Prix will draw 300,000 racing fans in one weekend this November. State lawmakers created the Mass Gatherings Act in the early 70s to address a big crowd like that. The law is supposed to help catch and correct health and safety problems well in advance. An infamous example, Willie Nelson's 1975 4th of July picnic in Liberty Hill. It violated the act because of overcrowding.
United States Grand Prix, bringing the world to Austin and Austin to the world.
Travis County was supposed to hold F1 to the same standard by making organizers obtain a mass gathering permit before publicly promoting their event.
Concerned about the special treatment that Formula One has received.
Permitting requires an investigation and approval by the county health department, sheriff, and fire marshal. All three signed off, but the timing concerns former County Judge Bill Elshire.
A person may not promote a mass gathering without a permit issued under this chapter.
The act says promote means to organize, manage, finance, or hold. Clearly, F1's been doing that for months, even years.
So Rosberg up to 4th.
Organizers announced the event in May 2010. Big financing a few months later.
Make this one of the true great sporting events in the world on an annual basis.
The first official press release promoting the event in April 2011. Followed by the first YouTube promotion a month later, all well ahead of when county commissioners granted the permit in June of this year.
If they promote that event before they've gotten their mass gathering permit, they commit a criminal offense.
A misdemeanor punishable by a fine up to $1,000 or up to 90 days in jail.
The question would be, would they be prosecuted? Or are we just not going to enforce this part of the law?
In an email, Circuit of the Americas told KXAN they applied for the permit as soon as we received confirmation from the county commissioners in March 2012 that one was required for our Grand Prix. Technically, the way the law is worded, they did not follow that. They violated the act. Current County Judge Sam Biscoe admits F1 wasn't the only one not sticking to the law. The county didn't follow it either.
If we had followed the letter of the law, I would not have granted it.
By the time organizers applied, they've been working with the county for months. Records show other permits issued as early as a year ago. But Biscoe says the county decided not to require the mass gathering permit until recently.
What they would have done was kill the race. And after you invest tens of millions of dollars, to me that was unreasonable.
Also unreasonable to the county, the law itself. Although the wording doesn't say this, Biscoe says it was meant for temporary events like outdoor concerts, not permanent structures like a racetrack. Are you saying that you intend to talk to the legislature about changing the law in the upcoming session?
Well, I don't intend to do it, but I intend to see that it's done. I think Travis County should be over there getting it clarified.
But the legislative session starts 2 months after the first race. Olive says that's a little too late.
I think they should have started 2 years ago.
The county attorney's office tells me it doesn't plan to prosecute Circuit of the Americas. Judge Bisco says the county will continue to monitor their progress in the next 4 months to make sure there aren't any problems with this mass gathering.